Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Marksman Weekly. The gameplay you'll be seeing today is me using the MR28 on Stonehaven in what may be my best game I've ever played. And the theme of today's episode is going to be all about the MR28. I'll be talking about general strategy for using the MR28, how the MR28 is used in real life, as well as giving detailed analysis about the statistics of the MR28. And you'll soon realize that the theme of today's episode is all about dishonesty. See, the MR28 is probably the most dishonest weapon in the game when it comes to its real-life counterpart, and the lies start right at the beginning with its name. The MR28 in the game is actually the G28 in real life. It is a designated marksman rifle made by the Germans for the German Federal Army deployed to the Afghanistan War. The lies continue with its ranges and damage profiles. In real life, the G28 is chambered for a 7.62 by 51 millimeter NATO round, has a 1 to 8 times zoom scope, and is accurate to kill up to 600 meters, accurate to suppress up to 800 meters, which makes it an exceptionally long-ranged weapon that is an absolute monster in real life, which is, again, dishonest by the game, because in the game it barely outclasses some of the assault rifles in terms of range, and is simply the closest thing in the game to a semi-automatic assault rifle and about the farthest thing from being a true marksman rifle. When comparing the MR28 to the other marksman rifles in this game, it is a story of best and worst. Its max damage of 65 out to 20 meters is worst in terms of max damage and max damage range, and it drops off to a 34 at 46 meters, which is also the worst minimum damage at the shortest minimum damage range. However, what that means to you in the game is that you will kill in 2 shots out to 32 meters and never take more than 3 shots to kill an unprotected opponent. The time to kill is fairly long compared to other weapons in the game, however, is the shortest in the marksman class with a 0.4 second time to kill out to 32 meters, 0.5 seconds time to kill after that when you factor in the 0.3 second ADS time. It has the highest ammo capacity in its class at 24. The other 3 marksman rifles each have 18, which of course becomes 27 with extended mags compared to the 36 extended mags with the MR28. When talking about the absolute strengths of this weapon, we unfortunately get back into the dishonesty portion of this commentary. It claims that, or rather, it does have the fastest possible fire rate at 600, which would actually put it in the middle of the pack of the assault rifles, if you could actually reach the 600 rounds per minute average. Unfortunately, it is nearly impossible to actually hit 600 rounds per minute, even if you have the most amazing trigger finger in the world. For those of you who don't know, the way semi-automatic weapons work in this game is they will not register a shot that is faster than its max fire rate. So if your max fire rate is 600 rounds per minute, but you're pulling a trigger faster than 600 rounds per minute, that means that every other trigger pull is not going to register. The game is not going to say, oh, he pulled the trigger, we'll go ahead and fire that round when ready. The game is going to simply ignore that trigger pull, and it'll take you 3 trigger pulls to fire your second shot if you're pulling the trigger too fast. If you're pulling the trigger too slow, obviously you're not going to be reaching the 600 rounds per minute average because you're pulling the trigger less than 600 rounds per minute. So every time you pull the trigger, a bullet will come out. However, you're not going to reach that fire rate. You have to literally pull the trigger exactly 600 rounds per minute in order to achieve the true strength of this weapon, which is its exceptionally fast fire rate. The good thing about having a fast fire rate with a semi-automatic weapon is you're probably not going to oversample it, which means you can just spam the trigger as hard as you want, because most people are not going to reach 600 trigger pulls a second. Rather, 600 trigger pulls per minute. 600 a second would be ridiculous even with a modded controller. And that of course brings you to modded controllers, which is the only way you're actually going to achieve 600 rounds per minute if you have a controller that you can just set to pull the trigger 600 times per minute. which I do not advocate because it's cheating, it's illegal, and I strongly suggest you not try to do it. And probably the most dishonest thing about the MR28 in this game is that it has a foregrip on it. In-game description says that it comes with its own foregrip, or it says something along the lines of it comes with its own foregrip, which gives you reduced recoil. Unfortunately, that may be true compared to what the MR28 would be without the foregrip, but it is not true compared to the other marksman rifles. If you're just referring to recoil as how far the barrel moves every time you pull the trigger, the MR28 shockingly has the highest recoil in its class, and actually by a fairly high margin. And I'm not saying it's it feels like the highest recoil because you're able to pull the trigger faster. I'm saying if you fire one shot with the MR28 and one shot with any of the other marksman rifles, the MR28 will experience more recoil than the other ones. And at this point, a lot of people are listening to this commentary saying, wait a minute, I played with the MR28 and it doesn't feel like it has that much recoil to me. And that is where the foregrip comes in, because where the MR28 has the highest movement for every bullet, it also has the highest center speed in the marksman class, which makes the recoil feel like less than it actually is. And when we start talking about attachments, more specifically optics, that information is going to come in very handy. This weapon is best at medium to medium-long engagements. It is not very good at long ranges, and as we've talked about numbers, that has come to light. It has an exceptionally high fire rate coupled with an unhappily high level of recoil, making it very hard to hit the 3 necessary shots to kill someone at long range. This is not an accurate person's rifle. You have to be more accurate with this rifle than you do one of the fully automatic rifles, obviously. But if you are coming from the snipers, or you're, a fan of being able to hit every shot and not missing, this isn't really the rifle for you. Its strength in the fire rate means that every time you miss a shot, your time to kill is not going to drop that significantly. If you're talking about the SVU, for example, it's got a decent time to kill if you're hitting every bullet, but if you miss once, your time to kill drops from decent to possibly worst in the game. If you miss twice, you're probably going to die. This is not that rifle. This is one where you point it in a general direction, you fire 5 shots, and the person you're aiming at is probably going to be dead when you're done. Frankly, a lot of the perks and attachments are going to be universal among the marksman rifles, so I'm only going to cover the ones that are specifically tailored to the MR28 and work exceptionally well with the MR28. Number 1, optics. I mentioned earlier that the high center speed is going to be important when we talk about optics, and one thing that a lot of people know about the marksman rifles, and a lot of people don't know about the marksman rifles, is that you actually receive a 20% reduction in recoil when using the standard sight. And so I suggest highly to use the standard scope that comes with your MR28 or any other marksman rifle. However, if you just must have a thermal scope, or you must have a red dot sight, or you just love to play with iron sights, I strongly suggest that you use the MR28, because while it will increase your recoil by 20%, having that exceptionally high center speed will mean it will not feel nearly as bad as it will with the other marksman rifles. This one will receive the least amount of noticeable additional recoil when compared to the standard sight. One very interesting thing, and this is true among all marksman rifles, the iron sight attachment says that it increases mobility. However, it does not increase mobility among any other optic in the game. I don't know why they would say it increases mobility. Maybe they made the attachment, then they decided to take away the increased mobility or whatever. I don't know if it was just an oversight or if it was supposed to be a placebo effect, but I'm taking that placebo effect away right now. You are better off with the red dot sight. The iron sights do not increase mobility in any way, shape, or form, nor do they add more recoil than any other sight. So if you want a reflex sight, go with the red dot. As far as barrel attachments go, once again, we're going to re-enter the dishonesty portion of this. The flash suppressor, ladies and gentlemen, a lot of you already know, a lot of you seem to not know, has zero effect on how any of the weapons in this game act. It does not reduce your bullet spread. It does not increase your auto aim assist. It simply reduces the flash. On some of these weapons, when using iron sight, the flash can get in your way. The flash can be excessive and it can harm your shot picture and make it harder to track people. The flash suppressor is a valuable attachment on certain weapons. However, especially if you're going to use a scope, the flash suppressor is useless on a marksman rifle. They don't have that bad of flash to begin with. You're not firing very many shots consistently, blocking your screen for any kind of period of time. And unless you're using iron sights, all of your optics are going to be raised above the barrel enough that your flash is not going to bother you. Do not waste your time on a flash suppressor. The silencer, if you've noticed watching my videos, is probably my favorite attachment. I love being stealthy. I love being quiet. The silencer helps me do that. It is my go-to attachment, and I just don't care that much about decreased range when using a weapon that has a relatively high damage output in the first place. The muzzle brake, again, dishonest. It says that it increases damage. It does not. What it increases is damage over range, and that is it. It is not going to make your weapon do any more damage per bullet. Simply carry that damage farther. As far as the miscellaneous, extended mags is very good with the MR28 because you're going to go through your bullets fast. It's a very spammy weapon. It's not a high accuracy weapon. And having 36 rounds, 36, is a little bit better than having 24. Armor piercing is what I always use on my weapons. I love armor piercing rounds. The last thing in the world that I want is to hit somebody several times and not have them die because they're standing behind a piece of cardboard, or hit somebody and get that stupid little vest marker popping up. I hate those things. As far as perks go, sleight of hand is very good with this one. We've already talked about the lack of ammo. We've already talked about how you're going to go through your ammo very fast. I use sleight of hand with all the marksman rifles. I use it with this one because it fires so fast that it negates the added ammo per magazine. And I use it with the other ones because they just have very low ammo capacities. And the secret weapon for my marksman class is hardline. Hardline is a great perk for a marksman rifle. It not so much because you get one fewer kill needed for a kill streak. That's great. It's always fun. But the truth is, hardline makes every 2 assists counts as a kill using hardline, which is very, 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 very useful. The reason it's so useful is because with a marksman rifle, you're going to be engaging targets at a long range. A lot of them are going to take one bullet and get away. However, that one bullet is going to do an excessively high amount of damage, and there's going to be several seconds go by before they are not going to be damaged. And if somebody kills them while they're running away, you're going to get an assist. I get a lot of assists with marksman rifles, and hardline is a great thing to have. My final thoughts on this weapon are simple. It is my least favorite marksman rifle. I am coming from sniping, I'm coming from quick scoping, and so I love accuracy. I love hitting every bullet, and the MR28 just isn't designed to do that, even though the G28 is designed to do that in real life. If they had been true to the real-life counterpart of this weapon, this might be my favorite gun in the game, but the way that they've done it is not my least favorite gun in the game, but certainly my least favorite gun in this class. Thank you for watching and listening. I hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to subscribe, and until my next video, have a good week.